Hey, everybody, the Bo Prosser here. Welcome to another of our video journeys with Ruben Swint. We're talking today about the end is near. No, this is not a video on prophecy. This is a set of videos on actions for year end giving in 2024. We are trying to give you some uh, steps that you can put in play, implement to increase your year end giving and not only increase your giving, but broaden the number of people that are participating with you. So, not prophecy, but an invitation to implement some actions.
Yes.
Ruben Swint, welcome back. Thanks for joining me as always.
Glad to be here, Bo. Looking forward to this talk we're going to have.
So the end of the year's coming. We are recording this on Halloween Day, trick or treat, Ruben. I'm not sure. I'm hoping these will be treats that we share together.
Absolutely.
Uh, but when is it time to start year end giving?
Well, the end is near now. And what I really mean to communicate with that title is year end giving among your members, from your members, has already begun. If we're here October 31, they have begun already to give. And Bo and I are going to share a little context for why that's so. But if you think your members are waiting before they will start any surge in generosity by the end of the year, they may be already doing that. And there are a number of reasons for that. One of the reasons is that there are 2 million, nearly 2 million nonprofits in the United States of America.
Wow.
Can you believe it? And of that number, 350,000 or so are religious congregations of one faith or denomination or the other.
Mm.
Now, that leaves 1,650,000 nonprofits who usually employ at least part-time, if not full-time, if not teams, if not whole departments and divisions of professional fundraisers. And their communication to your members has already begun. They know, based on their sampling, that their best prospects are folks who are actively in religious congregations, who actually practice their faith. They make the assumption these are usually givers. It's not quite true, but when compared to non-active members and the general population, it is a much better target-rich field for them in terms of their emails, their texts, and their mailings. Oh, mailings. You may have noticed that mailings have increased to your home from several nonprofits. Bo, did this happen to you at your house?
Not just mail, though I have a stack of solicitation mail, but also TV and radio
Yes.
uh, for for the same. St. Jude is always active. The Shriners always active. Red Cross always active, and so I see these giving opportunities that always have a feel good message, that always draw me in. Uh, when the animal shelter
Oh, yes.
giving solicitations come on, I can't stand to look at those, so I turn away. Uh, and many others are a little bit harsh for me, so I turn away. But I have noticed even during the World Series, some of those people uh, doing solicitation during a major sporting event. So somebody
Yeah.
knows something about solicitation towards the end of the year. And then with the onset of the hurricanes and disaster relief and all of the other events that are happening around us, not to mention all of the political solicitations that have come
Yes.
my way, not just to vote for a candidate, but to give for a candidate or a political party. We've been inundated at my house with not junk mail. I won't call it that, but I have been inundated with those solicitations for sure.
Absolutely. Hurricane Helene, late September. It was a day after. They're putting videos on the screen of the devastation. They're
Yep.
starting to give updates on deaths from that storm. And anytime a natural disaster hits and images are broadcast either via internet or cable news or streaming services, that provokes immediate giving. And if
Yes.
they have an 800 number up there or some kind of URL to go to, donate now, it happens.
Yes.
So people have been doing some form of giving in the year's end since late September. Then October comes around and the political contest in our country heats up, which also increases the solicitations. You can prevent this if you give. You can accomplish this if you give. So your members, and you're probably smart enough to know that you've all read the book, Not Your Parents' Offering Plate. Your members are generous, but not exclusively to their church.
That's
They
true.
give to their church and they give to their church plus. And it's the other entities in our nonprofit world who are talking now.
Right.
They
But
know that the last 2 months of the year is when they will get more contributions per day, per week, per month than any other time in the year.
yes.
Bo?
And as a pastor or as the finance committee, every 6 days we have a captive audience for at least an hour.
Yep.
They come to Sunday school and worship, we get them for 2 hours, maybe another 45 minutes on Wednesday nights. We have some quality time that we can deliver our message as well. So I would remind our folks that are participating with us, don't ignore those times when people are gathered to tell our story.
Yes.
And invite them to the process. So there's all these messages that are bombarding us. Even right now, the Center for Christian Education, BoProsser.com. I am a nonprofit. I appreciate people who share with us. I will be doing year-end giving and fundraising for the center. So at every turn, there are people who want to appeal to us, to partner with us, and to give to us. So how does a church get its message told? How do we strategize to begin this giving process?
Well, yes. And I think the purpose of this context is to help our listeners and viewers understand that the congregation is usually late to the ask for year-end giving. Nonprofits used to be later than they are now. They used to wait until after Thanksgiving. They start the 1st of November now, and you'll
Yes.
start to see a surge from all of them. So the questions are, and we're going to answer these hopefully. Here are your questions. What are your members now hearing and reading about year-end giving for their church? Anything? When will your members be asked to respond with a strong surge in generous support going through these last 2 months? And what's going to be your strategy? Are you going to emphasize tithing, fulfilling pledges, meeting the budget? Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Giving appreciated assets, large gifts from a select few, or all of those.
Yeah.
So Bo and I are going to now enter into about 7 specific actions we recommend you consider employing into a plan, understanding that if you're not already thinking about this, you may be a little late, but we have faith and confidence in you. You can catch up, and you can give your church members the opportunity to participate in a strong surge in giving here at year end.
And one of the things that I talk about anytime I'm teaching church finances is to develop a stewardship calendar of year-round participation. That there are times to ask, there are times to plan, there are times to prepare, and if we live in that calendar, we're not as panicked, because traditionally October is budget stewardship giving. November, there's always a Thanksgiving offering or a state supported group, and then December is always missions giving. So traditionally, the calendar was set for us, and we really didn't do much year-end giving for the church, when that's one of the natural times when we can tell our stories and motivate our church people to share with us. So I'm excited about what we're going to share today. The first place that we land is always the first place that we land. Mission is what sets the whole thing in place, and money follows mission. So, Ruben, talk to us a little bit about this thing called mission and how it plays into year-end giving.
Church members believing in the mission of their faith community, of its direction in ministry, of what it's trying to accomplish, of how God is calling this congregation to make a difference. Church members knowing and believing in that is the number one motivator for giving in congregations. They know who we are. They know what our strengths are. They know where the need is, and they themselves are deployed in serving, or they know other members who are deployed in service, and there are continually good stories coming from those ministry efforts. So mission, you have to always tie in any solicitation, whether it's a capital campaign or annual stewardship or special offerings for missions or for year-end giving, tie it to your mission and say, this is why we exist. This is who we are. The number 2 reason church members give is they have confidence, trust in their staff, in the pastor and the clergy. If you have someone who's not getting along well in the congregation, help them, support them, give them skills if they're on staff to where they can make relational deposits, if you will, of goodwill in the congregation. But the congregation just has to believe that this staff is the best staff we could possibly have at this time for the mission God has called us to do. Thirdly, members here on a regular basis, and this gets to Bo's talking about year-round stewardship, regularly hearing good reports of ministry success and outcomes that are being accomplished by the members on mission who are doing their work in the church, in the community. And finally, people just have this sense that what we're doing is an urgent necessity for our membership, for our community. And if these things aren't funded, then people hurt. Now, that's a different message that maybe traditionally churches have embarked on. Most messages churches have embarked on have been, your church needs. The church, the institutional church, needs to pay its bills. Keep the lights on. Keep the sanctuary cool in the summer. Keep it warm in the winter. We need to pay salaries. That's an institutional need, and that's one of the least motivating conversations you can have. The need is in those persons who are being ministered to by your church. The need resides in members and community members, and what the church is doing is providing solutions. So the better message is help us continue to reach, to help, to heal, to rescue people. Help us continue to make a difference in the lives of others. And this is how you can do it. Don't try to meet the budget. There is no worst buzzkill in terms of generosity than meet the budget. People do want to make a difference. They do want to have a purpose. And Year in Giving can give them that opportunity to help heal and rescue people from life's difficulties. And more recently, we understand life's disasters.
And people, for whatever reason, people are expecting a year-end ask from many of us. And I like what you say here. Members believe their congregation is called to make a difference. The people who support the center believe that we are going to present quality Christian education, spiritual formation experiences like this video. And so they help us and support us as we do that. People want to be a part of something that makes a difference in the world. And in our churches, we certainly have the opportunity, and goodness knows we have the stories. If only we will think about, if we will think about them and then how we present them. I was with a coaching client last week. We were talking about the money of their church, the money situation of their church. And I asked the pastor, how often do you talk about money in your church? And he said, you know the answer.
Yeah.
I
Once
never
a year.
talk about money.
Or number.
And then I said, how often do you tell stories about the mission and work of your church? And he said, I never tell about it. And I said, we got some work to do. I threw my hands up actually on our call and said, oh my goodness, we got some work to do.
You said something like, Pastor, you got some splaining to do.
Exactly. We could have certainly been a part of that TV show to be sure. So money follows mission, and people hear the stories. They hear the stories from everywhere else. They surely need to hear the stories from our church and what their tithes and offerings and generous gifts are doing. So after we, again, bring the stories of our mission to the forefront, what's something else that follows?
Well, another strategy, and I'm not saying this is an alternate, you may wind up doing most of these, and you should consider that, but list your ministry successes. Now, in my client conversations, in talking about year-round stewardship, I always recommend do an annual report in late January, early February. Tell folks how things went the previous year. Try to do that visually with testimonies, not just numbers and charts and things like that. But now, right now, is the time for a preliminary annual report. To be able to say, year to date in 2024, these are the ministry outcomes we've accomplished already. And year to date, this is the amount of funding we've received to pay the cost of doing this ministry. And I like using the word cost instead of expenses. Expenses makes me think you're in some kind of general ledger in an accounting form. Mm-hmm. Cost is what we pay to be disciples of Christ. We pay the cost of discipleship. And that's what doing ministry is. It's being the body of Christ in the world, and there are costs associated with it. And as members believing in our mission, we gladly pay those costs. So we have given X towards funding annual ministry. I would say, if it's true, we are closing in now. This is the closing in time to funding all that God has called us to do this year. And we want to finish strong and fully funded for the solutions that we are providing to the needs of others. With a generous effort, we can pay for all we have done for God and for others this year. And I would say to you, pastors and clergy and finance committee leaders, do not assume that church members know all that you know.
Absolutely.
Do not make that assumption.
Yeah.
And even if at some point in time you were convinced they knew, they've forgotten.
Yeah.
So tell them again.
Absolutely.
Tell them again.
How many
they
times?
need reminding.
How many
Bo's
times?
right. You have them every 6 days. Here they are. They're yours. But you have no control over the next 6. And they are getting different messages with different value systems Sunday to Sunday. So on Sunday, they're yours. You got to reprogram them. You got to help them drain all that junk out that consumer culture has poured into them and put them back on the path of ministry, mission, generous funding.
We are God's people doing God's work. And it has to come back to that. Money follows mission. Telling our story is not me telling you everything that I have done. It's me helping you understand the larger picture of what our church has done during this past 10 months, 11 months, whenever you choose to start. I call that making 100 things 1% better. Over the last year, here are some things we have been able to do that have made a difference in our world. Most of them aren't splashy. Most of them aren't big, huge moments of ministry, but to that one person, we helped with that one thing. We made a difference in their world. And that's what we're about. So money follows mission, sharing 100 things that we've made 1% better, taking advantage of that hour to 2 hours we get with them every week on a consistent basis. And then the third action you suggest is take a special offering.
I do suggest that. And I do suggest it with the idea or the understanding, the awareness that there are special mission offerings around this time for many congregations. There have been disaster relief offerings broadcast on the internet via text and cable and streaming services. We all are aware of what Helene has done and the destruction that has caused. And there may be other opportunities for giving that are out there. So I'm not in a vacuum when I suggest that you get in the mix of all these offerings. And by doing that, do not try to, and I know you won't, but stay away from shaming church members for giving beyond their church. Here's the thing. The church is in the business of taking a product and person and developing them into Christ-like actions and behaviors and attitudes. So if you have church members who've decided to expand their giving, I would say applaud that. Congratulate them. They're on a giving path. They want to respond. This is not a competition. This is an awareness that in your church, even now, with all of these other special opportunities to give, there is still capacity, if you will, to fully fund all you're doing in your 24 ministry plan. So here's what your members are doing. You're doing it too. You're entering now a season of strong personal shopping. You know,
Yes.
we're going to have that kicked off with on Thanksgiving with the Macy's parade, the most aware retail establishment in our country, and they host Thanksgiving parade. Macy's. All right. Your members are buying for family and friends. If not buying, they're making a list. They're getting ready to spend. Many retailers will not really finally pay all of their expense until these last 2 months of the year. That's when they will finally turn their profit. So they're going to enter into several different kind of interesting conversations with all your members, as they do with the general public. Seasonal spending as well as giving will increase through the end of this year. So why not a gift for your church? Why not a gift to fully fund all the ministry that you are accomplishing? Why not a gift to cover the cost of this ministry that's meeting the needs of people? A gift to help heal and rescue people from life's difficulties and disasters, and to do that because of the ministry your church is already providing. I think that's highly appropriate, and you will be surprised. If you're not in a capital campaign, if you haven't had a major disaster in your own church requiring additional giving, you will be amazed at the additional capacity your congregation really has.
So remember, the average giver in America gives 3 to 5%. In the average church, 20% give 80%. That's just simple math. What we are doing is inviting people into another season of generosity. This is fascinating. We still have several things we need to unpack with you. This is Bo Prosser. This is Ruben Swint, the generosity guy. And we're going to continue in session 2 with implementing these actions for year-end giving. The end is near, and that's not prophecy. That's an opportunity for you to share with your church and with your church members actions for year-end giving in 2024. Bo and the Beard, we'll be back with episode 2. Ruben Swint, the generosity guy, thanks so much. I'll see you in just a bit.